Okay, so what's up, everybody? CNZ3 here. Now, in light of my Bardock character analysis that I was promising, I had to go back and rewatch the Bardock special. I remember most of it, but I was just rewatching it to see if there was some things that I was missing, some little details here and there, right? And interestingly enough, I did it in both Japanese and English. Okay, this was a big shock for me personally, because there was so much information that was entirely different between both the English and the Japanese. Okay, um, then I went on the Kanzenshuu forums and I was looking. I found this thread, right, called a Bardock dub analysis. It's written by the always illustrious Herms. Thank you so much for your content. And he put out a pretty well thought out um, analysis of both the dub and the original Japanese. So I'll link that in the description box below. But the purpose of this vid is sort of like, I guess you can say, a supplement to my Bardock analysis, because there's going to be a lot. There's everything you thought you knew about Bardock is going to be a little wishy-washy, a little changed, okay? So pretty much I took notes, okay? I took notes on this real quick and when I was watching them. And there were I think okay. Right now I have 6 different situations which I'll explain to you on how they were different, and maybe this is going to alter your view maybe a little bit too much, but basically the purpose of this video is just to help me to get you to understand what I exactly say in my Bardock character analysis, because there are some things that you expect in that analysis that were untrue. Okay, that wasn't the original material. Okay, and with the help of that thread that I posted below and this, I'm going to be able to explain that to you. Okay, so the first thing that I noticed, right, in the English and Japanese both. Okay, in the beginning, we have these 2 soldiers, and we get a close up of Kakarot, aka Goku, at this point, and talking about quote unquote his potential and stuff, right? Now, interestingly enough, in the English dub, they were saying that the sound of his crying, because of how loud it was, he was going to be destined for greatness. Okay. Now, of course, of course, this is true in the long run, but in the Japanese, they already note the fact that he has a very low power level, and basically he's destined for nothing. There's no point. He's a nobody. Okay, so that's the first one. Fundamental difference. If you watch the beginning of the English and the beginning of the Japanese, it's in the English they say that he's destined for great things, and Japanese they basically say no, he's not. Okay. And ironically, if you go back to the whole Broly movie, they actually note that Goku was born with a power level of 2, so that causes some sort of confusion over here. Okay. All right. Now the second situation that I found that was different was when Bardock and his team had just finished killing off all the people on planet Kanasa. And now in the English and the Japanese it was pretty similar, but in both of them he wasn't really mindful or really didn't care for Goku. Okay. However, in the Japanese, the reason he doesn't care for Goku is because of his weak power level. In the English, it's insinuating that because the Saiyans, when they procreate and they create babies, they're just sent off to planets when they're young, right? Now it's because Goku is being sent off to a planet already, and that he doesn't have the time to actually bond with him. That's why he doesn't want to. That's why he doesn't really care for should I say Kakarot, at least in the English version. Okay. So let me try and verbalize that a little better for you guys. In the English version, Bardock doesn't really care for Goku because he's not going to get that much time to see him. He's not going to have enough time to see him. And if he did, he would want to bond with him. In the Japanese, it's mainly because of his power level. He does not care for Goku because he was born so weak. Okay. Now this third one is going to be a huge shocker for you guys. Okay, it really is. Okay. Especially with Bardock and his team, because now they're talking about why Frieza wanted the planet Kanasa, and they're talking about how it has psychic energies, right? In the English version, as most of you know, the Saiyans are talking about Frieza in a not in a very high manner. They're talking about like he has a puny mind and he's a paranoid freak and stuff like that. Okay. The opposite holds true in the Japanese. Yes, the opposite holds true. The Saiyans are actually respecting Frieza in the Japanese version. They're calling him Frieza-sama. They're willingly working for him, calling him like great. Well, not a great leader, but they keep using the sama, the Frieza-sama suffix every time they mention his name. And if you guys don't know, sama in Japanese means basically like honorable one, pretty much. And every time one of the Saiyans says his name, says Frieza's name, they always say Frieza-sama, which indicates that they are giving him some level of, a very high level of respect. And that's the fundamental difference. So here we see in the English version that the Saiyans downright disrespected Frieza, whereas in the Japanese version we see that the Saiyans actually did respect Frieza a lot. Okay? So yeah, that might be a shocker for some of you guys. Okay? And this whole thing carries actually into my fourth scenario over here. After the fight with the Cybermen, okay. So the scene shifts from that Bardock scene to a new scene with Vegeta fighting some of the Cybermen. Okay. Now after the fight with the Cybermen, Vegeta comments on how they'll overthrow Frieza in the English version. Okay. So again, in the English version, we're getting the whole thing about the Saiyans disrespecting Frieza. Well, in the Japanese version, again, Vegeta's calling Frieza Frieza-sama. Vegeta of all people. And now, of course, this is him as a kid. You know, this isn't really him as more of a grown-up person, but he's around, I want to say, I think he was 12 in the special. Yeah. So again, in the English fight, he disrespects Frieza just as much as Bardock did. And Bardock and Bardock's crew. But in the Japanese one, like the Japanese Bardock and his crew, they're calling him Frieza-sama. So they're showing him respect. Okay? Now, here's another little interesting tidbit that I found. Okay? This is scenario 5 over here. So after Zarbon, Dodoria, and Frieza find out that planet Kanasa has been captured, Zarbon and Dodoria comment that it took so long. Okay? Now, I'm talking about the English dub here. They actually... Sorry, Okay. They actually comment that the capture of Planet Kanasa took so long. And they say that it's because they actually work well together in groups, but individually they're nothing very special. This sort of goes into the Japanese... Well, this is sort of synonymous with the Japanese version, because the Japanese version, they say the same thing, that individually that the Saiyans aren't really anything special, but when they work together, they're a pretty formidable force. Okay, so but the fundamental difference here is that in the English version, they say that Planet Kanasa was captured, but it took a very long time. The opposite is true, because in the Japanese version, they said that Planet Kanasa was actually taken 1 month earlier than expected. So, as we can see, like, at least for the Saiyan race, in the English dub, we see them as like this gritty, almost slave-like race underneath Frieza, whereas in the Japanese version, we just see them as someone hired by Frieza who are on the up and coming, and they're about to rebel. Okay, and interestingly enough, here's another big difference. Okay, in the English version, we already see that Frieza has already considered the option of eliminating the entire Saiyan race in the English version. In the Japanese version, Zarbon is actually the one that cautions Frieza to be wary of them, pretty much. And that's interesting, because I was always under the impression that Frieza was doing this on his own. After watching the Japanese version, it seems that Zarbon, Dodoria, and Frieza came to this plan to eradicate all the Saiyans collectively, whereas in the English one, it was just Frieza by himself. And that's another big one. Okay, I mean, I'm sure the Saiyans respecting Frieza must be a big shocker for you guys, but the fact that Zarbon and Dodoria were actually the ones that pushed Frieza into that is sort of, it's a little more surprising, I should say, considering that we already knew that Frieza was a racist. Okay, and I guess I'll just put my sixth and last scenario over here. Okay, when Vegeta actually enters the room to see Frieza, Zarbon and Dodoria are saying like, "What are you doing here?" And you know they basically saying this. They basically say the same thing in both the English and the Japanese versions. But in the English version, Frieza's trying to act more of like, I guess, a guardian to Vegeta, because when Vegeta comes into the room where Frieza, Zarbon, and Doria are in the English version, he's very obnoxious, very loudmouthed, and not very what's the word I'm looking for? Not very well mannered. And Frieza actually tells him that, you know, just go ahead and do your job, and make sure to brush up on your manners. So this is all in the English version. The Japanese version, Vegeta's polite from the get go. Yeah, he actually says, "Frieza-sama, I've just come here to pay you my respects." And that's basically, you know, all my scenarios right there. And as you can see, very fundamentally different view of the Saiyans, and the Frieza army interactions. The Saiyans were actually respectful towards Frieza. Vegeta was actually a very well-mannered kid, and Bardock was actually more ruthless than people give him credit for. So those three things are probably I guess probably things to look for in my Bardock character analysis review. I mean, I know this is about Bardock. This was supposed to be a supplement for my Bardock character analysis, but I just thought I'd just do a English and Japanese dub comparison for Bardock, the father of Goku. So yeah, I hope you guys actually, instead of you guys thinking that, you know, all the Saiyans hated Frieza, now you guys actually see that the Saiyans were respectful of Frieza, and that's what made his betrayal all the more colder, if that's the word I can use. And yeah, I guess that's it for me, guys. Be on the lookout for the Bardock character analysis. Pros and cons of Cowboy Bebop is still in the works, because it's been a while since I've done that, and I guess my Toriko review on Thursday. Oh yeah, Hajime no Ippo 10-11 chapter review. That'll probably be coming out today as well. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.